The night was burning. The alien palace, once full of light and song, was now covered in fire and smoke. Towers that once touched the sky were breaking into pieces. Guards ran in every direction, not to protect their princess, but to destroy her. The princess, tall and proud only hours ago, now held her little daughter's hand tightly. Her royal gown was torn, her face pale and her eyes filled with fear. The child's voice was small. "Mother, why are they chasing us?" The princess pulled her closer. "Because we are not safe here anymore, my child. We must run." The grand halls echoed with heavy footsteps. The soldiers' armor clashed as they shouted orders. The princess knew those voices. Once they swore loyalty to her, now they swore to kill her. Betrayal was sharper than any sword. They hurried through hidden passages, their steps quick and quiet. The princess's heart pounded, not for herself, but for the little girl who stumbled beside her. She thought of her late husband, the king. He had wanted peace with the humans. He had believed they were not enemies but allies. For that he had been murdered. Now the same traitors wanted her dead, and her daughter too. At the edge of the palace garden, the princess stopped. Flames rose high behind her, painting the night red and orange. The air was full of smoke, screams, and falling stone. She bent down and touched her daughter's cheek. "Listen to me," she whispered. "We cannot go back. We cannot trust our people. From now on we are alone." Tears filled the child's eyes. "But where will we go?" The princess looked to the dark sky. The stars shone above, cold and endless. Somewhere out there, a choice waited for her. Somewhere, someone might help. Not her kind. Never again. Only one option remained. "We will find a human," she said, softly. The word shocked even herself. An alien princess asking help from a human? It was unthinkable. Her people called humans weak, savage, unworthy. Yet she had seen something different. In secret, she had studied their history. Humans were strange, fragile bodies, short lives. But they had something her people had forgotten: compassion. They protected even strangers. They fought not only for power, but for others. Her husband had admired them. For that, he had died. The sound of boots grew louder. The soldiers were close. The princess took her daughter's hand again, and together they ran into the night forest. Branches cut her arms, her gown tore further, but she did not stop. Behind them, voices shouted, "Find them! Don't let the traitor escape!" Hours passed. The forest grew darker, colder. The child shivered, and the princess wrapped her in a cloak. The stars above guided them. Still, her strength began to fail. Every breath hurt, every step felt heavy, but she refused to give up. Finally, at the edge of the forest, she saw the faint glow of a campfire. Her heart jumped. Was it an enemy? A trap? Or could it be a human? She crept closer, hiding behind trees. And there he was, a man, human, alone, sitting by the fire, sharpening a blade. His face was scarred, his eyes sharp but not cruel. His clothing was worn, the outfit of a wanderer or an exile, a man who had survived far from home. The princess almost turned back. She was a royal, she was proud. How could she throw herself before such a man? But then she looked at her daughter, asleep in her arms. Weak, helpless. Without this man, they would both die. Slowly, she stepped into the light of the fire. The human looked up, hand on his weapon, ready to fight. But then he froze. What he saw was not an enemy soldier, but a broken princess holding a child. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were steady. "Human, take me as your concubine. Take my child too. We have nowhere else. You are our last hope." The fire crackled. The night was silent. The man's hand tightened on his weapon, but he did not strike. Instead, he stared at the woman before him, a princess lowered to begging, an alien royal offering herself not for power but for her child's life. The air was thick with tension. Would he reject her? Would he laugh at her desperation? Or would this be the moment where humanity once again showed it was different from the rest of the galaxy. The princess waited, her heart beating like thunder. Her fate, and her daughter's fate, rested on a single human's choice. The firelight flickered across the human's face. His eyes stayed locked on the princess, sharp and unblinking. His hand rested on the blade, ready to strike if she made one wrong move. The princess stood tall despite her torn gown, her arms wrapped tightly around her sleeping child. Her pride burned inside her, but desperation forced her words. "Take me as your concubine," she repeated softly, her voice trembling but clear. "Take us in. We have no one else." The man's face did not change. He studied her like a hunter studies prey. Seconds stretched into silence. Only the crackle of burning wood filled the night. Finally he spoke, his voice low and rough. "Why should I trust you? You are not human. You are one of them." The princess lowered her eyes. She had expected this. To her people, humans were outsiders. To humans, her kind were enemies. The divide between them was deep. Yet here she was, begging across that divide. "I have been cast out," she whispered. "My people turned against me. They murdered my husband. They want my daughter dead. I am no longer one of them. Without you, we will not survive." The man's eyes narrowed. He shifted the blade in his hand but did not raise it. "And why should I believe you? Perhaps this is a trap. Perhaps behind you soldiers wait to kill me." Her heart pounded. She shook her head fiercely. "No, I swear it. There is no one else. Only us." The child stirred in her arms, letting out a soft cry before falling back asleep. The human's gaze lingered on the girl, fragile, innocent, unaware of the danger, closing in around her. Something in his expression changed, though only slightly. "You said concubine," he muttered at last, almost spitting the word. "Do you even understand what you ask?" Her voice grew steadier now. "Yes, I ask. Not for honor. I ask for survival. Take me as your concubine or call me servant or slave. The name does not matter. Protect my child and I will give myself to you." The human leaned back slowly. His scarred face softened, though suspicion remained. He had seen many things in the galaxy. Smugglers, pirates, mercenaries, but never this. An alien princess once above all others, now reduced to begging at his fire. "You would give up everything. For her?" he asked, nodding toward the child. The princess held her daughter closer. "Yes. She is all I have left. I will kneel, I will beg, I will break myself, if it means she lives." The man stared into the fire for a long moment. His jaw tightened. Old memories stirred in him, memories of battlefields where humans were called weak, yet they had fought harder than anyone expected. Memories of friends lost because they chose mercy instead of cruelty. Finally, he sheathed his blade. "You may sit," he said at last. "But hear me. I am no king. I am no savior. If you stay with me, you live by my rules. Do you understand?" The princess bowed her head. "I understand." She lowered herself onto the ground beside the fire, laying her daughter gently across her lap. The warmth of the flames eased the girl's shivers. For the first time in hours, the princess allowed herself a single deep breath. The man studied them again, suspicion never leaving his eyes. "Tell me who you really are. Why do your people hunt you?" Her throat tightened, but she forced herself to speak. "I am the widow of the king. My husband believed in peace with humans. He wanted to end the endless fighting. For that, he was killed. Now they call me traitor. They say my daughter carries poison in her blood. They want us gone, erased." The man's brow furrowed. "So they would kill a child for politics?" The princess nodded. "Yes. For power, they would kill even her." He shook his head slowly. "Your people call us savage, yet this is savagery. Silence fell again, heavy and tense. The princess clutched her daughter's hand and prayed he would not send them away. She had risked everything for this one chance. The human finally broke the silence. His voice was firm, carrying the weight of decision. You may stay, for now. But know this, if you bring danger to my door, I will protect the child first. You Ike second. The princess's eyes filled with tears. She lowered her head. That is more mercy than I ever hoped for. Thank you. The fire burned low. The human leaned back, staring into the night, his mind restless. He had taken in 2 fugitives, one of them a royal alien, hated by her own kind. He knew this choice would bring trouble, yet something inside him, something human, would not let him turn them away. The princess watched him in silence, hope and fear mixed in her heart. She knew the road ahead would not be easy. But tonight, under the cold stars, she and her daughter had found their last hope in the hands of a single human. And somewhere in the dark forest beyond the fire, distant voices rose. The hunters had not given up. The chase had only just begun. The forest was silent, but the human did not trust the silence. He knew silence could be a mask. He had survived too many battles to mistake calm for safety. Still, the alien princess and her child slept beside the fire, their faces soft in the flickering light. The man sat awake, his hand never far from his blade. He studied them. The child, no older than 6, clutched her mother's hand even in sleep. The princess, though exhausted, still held herself with a strange kind of dignity. She had begged him for protection, even offered herself, yet even in her lowest moment there was a spark of strength. At last, when the stars began to fade and the first light touched the sky, the princess stirred. She sat up, her long hair falling across her shoulders. Her eyes, red from sleeplessness, met his. You did not sleep, she said softly. I never do, he answered. There was a pause. Then, in a quiet voice, he asked, Tell me the truth. Why would a queen, a royal widow, flee into the arms of a human? What secret makes your people hunt you like prey? The princess lowered her head. For a moment she said nothing, then her voice trembled as she spoke. My husband, your enemy, the king of my people, was not as cruel as others believed. He wanted peace. He believed humans were not weak, not savages. He said you had something our people lost long ago. In the odd, man raised a brow. And what is that? Compassion, she whispered. She touched her daughter's hair, stroking it gently. When he spoke of peace, the council grew angry. They said he betrayed our ancestors. They said he dishonored the bloodline, but he did not stop. He said our survival depended on change, and then they killed him. The human's jaw tightened. He had seen many leaders fall, but to hear of one who was slain for seeking peace, that stirred something deep inside him. They called me a traitor's wife, she continued. They said my daughter carried poison in her veins, that she would infect the throne with weakness. They wanted us erased. Her voice broke. She pressed her face into her hands. I begged them. I begged for my child's life. But they laughed. They told me a queen's tears meant nothing. So I ran. I ran with her into the night, and I did not look back. The fire cracked. The man stared at her for a long moment. He saw not just an alien, not just royalty, but a mother, broken, desperate, yet unyielding. Now I understand, he muttered. They fear you because you remember. What mercy is, the princess lifted her gaze. Mercy is not weakness, mercy is strength. My husband believed that. Now I believe it too. And if I must bow before a human to keep my child safe, then I will. The man leaned forward. His voice was calm, but sharp. Do not bow before me. Live with me, survive with me. But do not bow. Humans do not need queens on their knees. Her lips parted, surprised. She searched his face, but he looked away, back into the dark trees. For a moment, there was peace. The child slept. The mother breathed easier, and the human watched the horizon. But then, a sound. A branch snapped, distant but sharp. Both of them froze. The man's hand moved to his weapon. The princess pulled her daughter close. From the Yar, shadows came faint voices, alien voices, harsh and commanding. "They are near," she whispered, terror flooding her eyes. "They have not stopped. They will never stop." The man rose to his feet. His face hardened into steel. "Then let them come." The princess stared at him, confused. "You cannot fight them alone. They are many. You are one." He glanced back at her, and a small, grim smile touched his lips. "I am human. One is enough." Her breath caught. There was no arrogance in his words, only truth. A simple, terrifying truth. The voices grew louder, closer. Shapes moved between the trees. The princess clutched her daughter and prayed silently. She had trusted this human with everything. Now she would see if her choice was foolish, or if her husband had been right about humanity all along. The man tightened his grip on his blade. His heart was steady, his mind sharp. He would not run. Not tonight. Not ever. The first shadow stepped into the firelight. The hunters had found them. The human raised his weapon, and the night held its breath. The first hunter stepped into the circle of firelight. His armor gleamed with dark metal, his weapon raised high. Behind him, more shadows moved. 5, 6, maybe more. Their glowing eyes burned like cold stars in the night. The human stood tall, blade in his hand. His body, tense but unshaken, his scarred face showed no fear. The princess pulled her daughter close, her heart racing. She knew the hunters were trained killers. Against them, even soldiers of her own people would falter. Yet this human did not move back. The leader of the hunters pointed his weapon. "Give us the traitor and her child," he commanded. His voice was deep and cruel. "Do this and we may let you live." The man did not answer at once. He felt the princess's eyes on him, begging without words. His thoughts stormed. He could hand them over, end the danger, and walk away alive. It would be simple. Survival. Nothing more. But something inside him twisted at that thought. He looked at the child, her small face buried against her mother's chest. He thought of her soft cry the night before, her tiny hands trembling in the cold. He thought of the princess, once a queen, now broken but unyielding. He thought of what they had told him, that her husband died for peace, that mercy had been punished with death. He clenched his jaw. Humans had been called many things: weak, savage, fragile, but never cowards. The man stepped forward. His voice was calm but strong. "If you want them, you go through me." The hunters laughed, harsh and metallic. The leader sneered. "You? A human? Do you think your kind is strong enough to face us?" The man raised his blade. "I don't think, I know." The fire cracked, sparks flying into the air. Then the fight began. The first hunter lunged, weapon swinging. The man ducked low, striking fast. His blade cut across armor, finding the weak point at the neck. The hunter fell, choking on his own blood. The others roared in anger and charged. The princess gasped, holding her daughter tighter. She wanted to look away, but she could not. The man moved like water, flowing between the hunters. He did not have their strength nor their armor, but he had speed, cunning, and something more: resolve. He fought not for himself, but for them. Still, the odds were crushing. A blow struck his shoulder, another cut across his side. He gritted his teeth and pressed on. One by one he brought them down, but each strike cost him blood, breath, and strength. At last only 2 hunters remained. The leader stepped forward, his weapon glowing with deadly energy. He sneered. "You fight well, for a human, but you cannot win." The man spit blood into the dirt. His grip tightened on his blade. "Maybe not, but I will not stop." The leader raised his weapon and then froze. The princess had risen. Her eyes burned with fury. She stood beside the man, no longer silent. She lifted a stone from the fire and hurled it with all her strength. It struck the leader's face, breaking his mask. The distraction was enough. The human struck. His blade sank deep and the leader collapsed. The last hunter turned to flee, but the man's voice cut through the night like steel. Run. Tell them. Tell your masters a human stood against you and did not fall. The hunter vanished into the trees. Silence returned, broken only by the crackle of fire and the man's heavy breathing. His body shook with pain, but he stayed. On his feet, the princess rushed to him. You are hurt, he waved her off. I've been hurt before. She looked at him with wide eyes. Why? Why risk everything for us? You could have walked away. You could have given us to them. The man lowered his blade and stared at the flames. His voice was quiet, almost tired. Because I am human, and humans don't turn away from those who beg for help. Tears filled her eyes. She bowed her head. Then my husband was right. Your kind is different. The child stirred, her small hand reaching out. The man crouched, his rough hand brushing hers. For the first time in years, he felt something stir inside him. Not anger, not survival instinct, but purpose. Yet deep down, he knew this fight was only the beginning. More hunters would come. Armies, perhaps. By protecting them, he had placed himself in the center of a war not his own. The princess touched his arm. We cannot stay here. They will return in greater numbers. You know this. He nodded slowly. I know, which means we run. Together. For the first time, the princess smiled faintly. It was not a smile of joy, but of hope. The fire burned low. The forest was quiet again, but danger lurked beyond the trees. The man knew his choice had bound him to a path with no return. The human had taken in an alien princess and her child, and now the galaxy would come for them all. The night passed slowly, heavy with the smell of blood and smoke. The human had killed the hunters, but he knew their deaths would not remain hidden for long. Somewhere, someone would find the broken bodies, and when they did, more would come, many more. At dawn, he kicked dirt over the fire, erasing the last sign of their camp. We move, he said firmly. The princess rose, her daughter clinging to her side. The child looked pale, frightened by the fight she had witnessed. The princess held her close and whispered, Be strong, little star, we must keep walking. The human led the way into the forest. His steps were silent, his eyes sharp, scanning every shadow. He moved like a predator, every sense awake. The princess followed, her royal grace replaced by survival instinct. She had once walked through golden halls. Now she stumbled through roots and mud, her bare feet cut by stones. Yet she did not complain. Hours passed. The sun rose high, light piercing through the leaves. For a moment there was calm. Birds sang in the distance. The princess almost dared to hope they had escaped. But then the man stopped, his hand lifted, in warning. The princess froze. From the wind came a faint sound. Metallic clicks, the hum of strange engines. The man's jaw tightened. They're tracking us. The princess's heart sank. Already? He nodded grimly. Hunters leave marks. They always return to their dead. Panic filled her chest. What do we do? The man's voice was steady, controlled. We keep moving, but we move smarter. He crouched and brushed dirt over their footprints, showing her how to hide their trail. He led them into a shallow stream, the water erasing their scent. For hours they followed the current, the cold water biting at their legs. The child grew tired, her small steps slowing. At last the human lifted her onto his shoulders without a word. The princess watched in silence. A strange warmth filled her heart. He did not do it for her. He did it for the child. As night fell, they reached the edge of the forest. Beyond it stretched rocky hills, barren and sharp, a harsh land with no cover. The princess looked at the emptiness and felt fear. We cannot cross, they will see us. The man studied the land carefully. They will see us no matter where we go. But here at least we choose the ground. They crossed under the cold moonlight. Every sound echoed, the crunch of stones, the whisper of wind. The child slept against the princess's chest, her tiny breaths soft against her mother's skin. Then came the howl of engines above. The man's eyes snapped upward. A small craft swept across the sky, lights scanning the ground. The hunters had found their trail. Down, he hissed. He pulled the princess and child into a rocky hollow, pressing close against the stone. The ship passed overhead, its light sweeping across the barren land. For one terrifying moment, the beam hovered near them. The princess held her breath. The child stirred, almost whimpering. The princess covered her mouth gently, her heart racing. The beam moved on. The ship vanished into the distance. The man exhaled slowly. That was close. But before relief could settle, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hills. Voices, harsh, alien, growing nearer. They've landed, the man muttered. His hand tightened on his blade. They're here. The princess gripped his arm. We cannot fight them all. His eyes burned with resolve. No, but we can. Make them bleed. He pulled them deeper into the rocks, moving swiftly. He knew these lands better than any alien. The stones could hide them, and the narrow paths could trap their pursuers. The hunters spread out, their armor glowing faintly, under the moon. They carried weapons of energy humming with deadly power. Their voices echoed, "Find them, the traitor cannot escape again." The man crouched low, whispering to the princess, "Stay hidden. No matter what happens, protect the child." Her voice shook. "And you?" He gave her a grim smile. "I will buy you time." Before she could stop him, he slipped into the shadows. The princess held her daughter close, her body trembling. She wanted to call after him, but she bit her tongue. She knew he was right. If he fought, she must protect their child. If he died, she must keep moving. The hunters moved closer. Then a cry rang out. A hunter falling struck from the dark. Another shout followed. Panic spread. The man struck from the rocks like a ghost, fast and silent. One hunter fell, then another. He used the land, turning every narrow path into a trap. The princess watched in awe. He was only one man, but he fought with the fury of 10, yet for every hunter he killed, more appeared. The chase was not ending. It was only beginning. The princess whispered to her child, "Do not be afraid. Humans are stronger than they seem." Still, in her heart she knew the truth. The galaxy was vast, their enemies endless. One man could not fight forever. But tonight he fought for them. And as long as he stood, hope lived. The night sky glowed red with fire. Smoke curled above the rocky hills as the hunters closed in, their weapons humming with deadly light. The human crouched behind a boulder, blood dripping from a cut across his forehead. His chest rose and fell heavily, each breath sharp with pain. Still, his eyes burned with iron. The princess hid deeper in the rocks, holding her daughter against her chest. She watched as the man wiped blood from his brow and tightened his grip on the blade. He had fought so many, killed so many, yet still they came. She whispered, "He cannot hold them all. He will die." But her daughter, half asleep in her arms, murmured softly, "He will not leave us." The princess looked at the human again, and for the first time she believed. The hunters shouted as they spread through the rocks. Their leader, a towering figure in black armor, raised his voice. "Human, this is not your fight. Give us the traitor and her child, and we will spare your life." The man stepped into the open. His voice cut through the smoke. "I already told you, if you want them, you go through me." The hunters laughed. Dozens of glowing eyes turned toward him. They raised their weapons, beams charging with deadly power. The ground shook with the sound of their march. The princess clutched her daughter tighter. Fear filled her chest, but something stronger stirred too. pride. This human, alone, stood taller than an army. The leader raised his arm. Kill him. The sky lit up as blasts of energy rained down. The human rolled behind a boulder, the blasts shattering stone into dust. He moved fast, striking from the shadows, vanishing, reappearing, cutting down one hunter at a time. His body ached. Blood spilled from his wounds, but he did not stop. The hunters grew angry. "He is only one man," they shouted. "Why does he not fall?" the leader snarled. "Because he is human." Still, numbers pressed against him. A blast struck his leg, sending him crashing to the ground. Pain tore through him. He forced himself up, blade raised, but his body trembled. The princess cried out, "No!" She rose from hiding, her child behind her. The hunters turned, weapons ready. She stepped forward, her voice strong. "Stop! Do not harm him. I am the one you want." The leader sneered. At last, the traitor shows her face. The man's voice thundered even through pain. "No!" He pushed himself between them, his blade raised high. "If you want her, you still go through me." The hunters aimed their weapons, but suddenly the princess stepped beside him. For the first time, she did not hide behind him. She stood with him. Her voice rang out clear. "I am not afraid of you anymore. You call me traitor because I speak of peace. You call my child poison because you fear mercy. But mercy is not weakness. Mercy is power." The hunters hesitated. Whispers spread among them. Some lowered their weapons, doubt flickering in their eyes. The leader roared, "Do not listen to her. She is broken. She is nothing." But the princess stepped closer, her daughter's small hand in hers. "I was a queen and you tore my crown away. I was a wife and you murdered my husband. But I am still a mother, and tonight I stand with a human who shows more honor than all of you combined." Her words struck like thunder. The human's heart pounded. He saw in her not just desperation, but strength. The leader growled in rage, "Enough! Kill them all!" The hunters raised their weapons again, but the human moved first. With a roar, he launched himself at the leader. Their blades clashed, sparks flying. The leader was strong, armored, fueled by fury, but the human fought with something greater, resolve. Every strike was heavy with purpose, every blow screamed, "You will not take them." The princess watched, trembling, as the duel raged. The leader struck hard, smashing stone, but the human dodged and countered. Blood poured from his wounds, yet he fought on. At last, with a final desperate strike, he drove his blade into the leader's chest. The armored giant staggered, choking, and fell to the ground. Silence fell across the battlefield. The remaining hunters froze, their courage broken. Some fled into the night. Others lowered their weapons, unable to face him. The human stood over. The fallen leader, his blade dripping red, his chest heaved, his body shaking, but his eyes burned with fire. The princess stepped forward, her daughter clutching her gown. She looked at him with awe. "You should have died tonight, but you did not." "Why?" The man looked at her, his voice low but steady. "Because I am human, and humans do not fall so easily." The hunters who remained turned and vanished into the dark. The night grew silent again. The battle was over, for now. The princess placed her hand on his arm, her eyes shining with tears. "You are more than one man. You are hope itself." He looked at her, weary but unbroken. In his heart, he knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would not forgive what had happened here. Armies would come. War would follow. But tonight, against impossible odds, a human and an alien princess had stood together. And together, they had not fallen. The battlefield was quiet. Smoke curled into the night air, carrying the bitter smell of blood and burned stone. The hunters had fled. Their leader lay broken on the ground, and the stars above shone cold and distant. The human stood tall, though his body trembled from exhaustion. Blood stained his arm, his side, and his leg, yet his grip on the blade never loosened. His chest rose and fell heavily, but his eyes stayed sharp. The princess stepped forward, slowly, her daughter holding tightly to her gown. She looked at him, her voice trembling. "You should be dead. No one could stand against them, and yet you did." The man shook his head. "Not no one. A human." The princess lowered her gaze, humbled. "My husband was right. You're kind. You are not weak. You are not savages. You carry something stronger than power." The child, still clutching her mother, spoke in a small, soft voice. "You saved us." The man crouched, his face softer now. He looked into the child's eyes. "No," he said quietly. "I gave you a chance. But one day you must be strong enough to save yourself." The girl nodded, though her small hands shook. The princess watched in silence, her heart heavy and full at once. She had seen this human bleed, fight, and rise again when any other would have fallen. He had given more than protection. He had given hope. But she knew the truth. This was not the end. This was only the beginning. The sound of footsteps echoed from the distance. The man raised his blade again, but this time the figures that emerged were not hunters. They were others of her kind, soldiers dressed in silver, not black. Their weapons were lowered, their eyes filled not with hate, but uncertainty. The princess froze. She recognized them. Loyalists. Her husbands. Last allies. They had come when they heard whispers of her survival. Their commander stepped forward and bowed his head. "My queen, we thought you were lost." The princess's throat tightened. For the first time in many nights, she felt something other than fear. "I was lost," she said softly, "but I am found again." The soldiers looked at the human, their faces full of suspicion. "And this one? Why is he here?" The princess stepped between them, her voice strong. "Because without him I would be dead. Without him my child would not live. He is no enemy. He is my shield." The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. The commander frowned. "But he is human." The princess raised her chin. "Yes, and it was a human who showed more honor than all of us combined. Remember this. The future will not be built by fear. It will be built by mercy." The commander bowed his head again, though doubt lingered in his eyes. "As you command, my queen." The man looked at her sharply. "Queen? I thought you said—" She met his eyes. "They took my crown, but they did not take my blood. And now, with you beside me, perhaps it is time to take back what was stolen." He frowned. "I am no king." Her voice was steady. "No, but you are something greater. You are human." The silence stretched between them, heavy with meaning. At last the man sheathed his blade, his voice was low but firm. "Then, if you walk this road, know it will not be easy. Armies will come. Your enemies will not stop. And if I stand with you, I will make enemies of the galaxy." The princess touched her daughter's shoulder, then looked at him with fierce eyes. "Then let the galaxy come. For I have seen what one human can do. And I believe." The child slipped her small hand into his. "Will you stay with us?" she asked softly. He looked down at her, then at the princess. His face, scarred and tired, softened for the first time. "Yes," he said simply, "for as long as I draw breath." The princess closed her eyes, relief washing over her. The war was not over. Danger was not gone. But tonight, they had survived. And tomorrow, they would fight again, not as enemies but as allies. The dawn broke over the hills, painting the sky in gold and red. A new day began. A new story waited to be written, and in that light a human and alien princess and her daughter stood together, fragile, scarred, but unbroken. The galaxy would remember this night, the night when mercy and courage changed everything. The night when one human became the hope of a queen. It was not the end. It was the beginning.